Hello everybody and welcome back to Punting Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler and this is Bogles. Yeah, that's right, it's Pioneer and this is Bogles. You heard that correctly. Now, I hate playing against it in Modern as much as everyone else, but it's kind of a neat deck here in Pioneer. For instance, there's only 4 1-drop hexproof creatures here, the Gladecover Spouts. No actual Bogles or Bogles if you pronounce it the way that you should pronounce it. In this deck. We don't have any of those. However, we do have access to the Alseid of Life's Bounty here. 1 mana, just sacrifice it and protect a creature you control. That kind of works like Hexproof, right? You can give it Hexproof. Speaking of Hexproof, Karametra's Blessing. 1 mana, Hexproof and indestructible until end of turn if it's an enchanted creature or an enchantment creature. That's a lot going for it. So we have ways to protect our creatures, even if those creatures don't necessarily have hexproof. Now, we also have access to the Adanto Vanguard here, which can make itself indestructible. And because core Spirit Dancer has to be in the deck for it to be Bogles, we have Sram, who's going to trigger whenever an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell we cast is played. So whenever we cast any of these auras, we will draw a card. So that's great. We also have access to Season of Growth. Whenever creature enters play, we get a scry, and whenever we cast a spell that targets a creature that does count our auras, we get to draw a card. So we have lots of card advantage built in. We have some creatures. We have some ways to protect our creatures if they don't naturally have hexproof. And then we have the enchantment suite. We have the Cartouche of Solidarity. This gives your creature +1. It's one that gets on there. You also have access to Sentinel's Eyes. This one comes back from your graveyard, giving vigilance to your creature. Also have access to the old Gryff's Boon here. It was a 1-of in Modern, 4-of in this deck. +1/0 in Flying, and it can come back from your graveyard. And of course, Ethereal Armor makes your creature huge. First strike, +1 for each enchantment you control. All that glitters, +1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. We've got creatures. We've got ways to protect them, ways to make them big, and ways to draw cards. It's Bogles in Modern, everybody. I'm sorry, Bogles in Pioneer. And, by the way, we get now to play Lurrus out of our sideboard, which helps even more. Other than that, somewhat straightforward here. Grafdigger's Cage, where you want it. Hushbringer, when you really want to stop those ETBs. Baffling End for removal. More Adanto Vanguards against removal-heavy decks. And Apostle Purifying Light doubles as both some amount of graveyard hate, but also protection from black in a format where mono black is very good. So I found this list in a recent 5-0 or 4-1 or something from a daily. Stood out to me. I wanted to give it a shot. So here we go. Let's give shout out to Yashimura, was the person who played this particular list on Magic Online. Want to make sure I get that right. Yep. So there we go, everybody. It is Bogles in Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler. Thanks for watching. Let's get into the games. All right, here we go. With Pioneer Bogles, we will put our Lurrus into our companion zone, and let's see what we're looking at here. This looks like a keep to me, I guess. Not the most incredible hand. There's a lot of lands even, but with the Sram in hand, I think we'll be okay. We're on the play. That certainly helps. Let's go ahead and run this out. You know what? I will not reveal. I'm not going to be casting a spell this turn. No reason to give away more information, even though it wouldn't be exactly a shock that we have a land. But hey, play those tiny percentages. All right, our opponent leading off on the mountain and the Swift Spear. Well, we know what's up, I guess. Let's hope it's not too bad. All right, all the glitters. Well, now we hit decision point time. I think I'm going to pass. I don't think I can just run Sram out there. I think we'll lose. They'll bolt our Sram and we'll be stuck with 3 protection spells or 3 enchantments and instants that target creatures that we don't have. So I guess we just take the hit here and then we play Sram and we keep open the Karametra's Blessing and see what happens. Especially our opponent playing Steamkin, powerful card, but not killing us anytime soon. And we certainly gonna have all the mana we need this game. Let's hope that this is good enough. Now, it could even... This is kind of awkward for my opponent because in some worlds, you might want to wait to cast your spell to kill my Sram, right? Maybe to your end step or my upkeep or something like that, right? To really tax me. I guess my upkeep would be ideal. But my opponent actually wants to cast their spells as early as possible due to the Steamkin that is going to want to attack. So, this could work out pretty well where my opponent well, gosh, that's a Swift Spear. But, you know, hopefully they go to remove my Sram. We Karametra's Blessing it in response. And then we fogged the turn, essentially. My opponent won't be able to attack after that. Then we start to draw a couple cards on our next turn and see what happens. That would be our route to victory. I don't know how I feel about my opponent having the land here. Shocking it in. It's probably not a great sign for us. Especially if they're moving to combat. I'm going to block the Runaway Steamkin. 100%. The biggest they're thinking gets a 4-4. I got a 4-4-2 at the end of all this. Or it's a Boros Charm. Wow, that's a good one. I mean, I guess we're taking 4... Oh, they actually chose that mode. Oh, they're going to walk into this. Okay, well, we are taking a bunch of damage. That's for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and Karametra's Blessing our Sram. Alright, it becomes a 4-4. It actually is... It doesn't get the bonus. It does not become indestructible or hexproof or any of that. But it does become a 4-4. It is enough to block the Runaway Steamkin, and that was huge. Our opponent hitting us for 8 on this turn with the Boros Charm and the Swift Spears, but we're taking the Steamkin off the board. We're going to start to load up our Sram and see where things go. Sentinel's Eyes, you say. Okay, well, play Sentinel's Eyes. And Alseid is a very nice draw. I think what I'm going to do here is play the other Sentinel's Eyes on this thing. Get our card draw in. Move to combat. Because now we get free attacks. This thing's out of Lightning Bolt range. Or I guess Lightning Strike range in this format. But we get to attack with it. We can even block with it if we want. And we have the Alseid of Life's Bounty up to protect it, which is huge. And then next turn we can throw in all the glitters on that sucker and attack for 13 damage. Maybe? Maybe not, but a lot of damage. Of course, if we were to hit, another enchantment off our top of our deck, that might be enough. I guess right now all the glitters would be giving +4/+4 to our Sram, making it an 8/8. That would not be near enough damage, so we'd actually kind of need to draw something else. But it's a good blocker. We're at 10 life. Our opponent has 3 cards in their hand. They've got some work to do to finish this off. I don't think our sideboard, unfortunately, is really set up against red. Don't think we have a lot of cards to play against a red deck wins. But our deck has a non-zero amount of life gain in it, right? The Alseid has life gain. The Lurrus has lifelink. That'll get there, right? And, when you start to put some enchantments on this thing, the life gain can add up. Our opponent's deep in the tank, though, which is great. I mean, we won that last combat, so we won this last turn cycle so incredibly hard. It played out exactly the way I hoped it would. Now, what I actually thought my opponent might have been doing there was using the Boros Charm to give their creatures indestructible. You still get the Prowess triggers, but you make the Steamkin not die to my combat trick. But I don't know. I guess it was a very suspicious block, I have to say, on my end. They won't make that mistake again, but it might have got us where we needed to go for this one. If our opponent decides to come back, that is. Here we go. We've got a Mountain tapped. It's an Eidolon of the Great Revel. Well, you know what? That is a good card. It is a very powerful card. Now, unfortunately, you can't attack me. And that's where you're in trouble. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted to draw. Alright, here goes. Let's put an Ethereal Armor on this thing. I'm going to have to take some damage here. This is a little scary. A little scary. It's an 8/8. If I cast all the glitters and go down to 6, I'm swinging for lethal with it. Forces a chump block out of our opponent. However, makes me dead to 2 burn spells. Could say that I'm dead to 2 burn spells now. You could say that I'm supposed to put the Sentinel's Eyes on the Alseid. And all the glitters on the Alseid? Interesting. Put the All That Glitters on the Alseid and swing for a lethal, but also lifelink. However, I go to 6. What does that do? Okay, so if I play the All That Glitters on the Alseid, it's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to get +5/+5 and be a 6/6 lifelinker. That's lethal, swinging next to my Sram, which will be a 9/9. If my opponent has removal for the Alseid, then we might be in more trouble. Alternatively, here's an idea. What if I go All That Glitters? Okay, no, here's the line, I think. Sentinel's Eyes on the Alseid of Life's Bounty. I'm sorry, I'm thinking this through out loud here, but I'm thinking we put the Sentinel's Eyes on the Alseid of Life's Bounty. What that would do is give this Alseid of Life's Bounty +1/+1. It'd be a 2/2 lifelink. That means it's big enough to swing, and it has vigilance. So maybe my opponent takes the 11 or whatever. They don't die. We get to gain some life though, and our creature has vigilance. But let's say they have a burn spell. Well, if they have 2 burn spells, they want to point them at our face and kill us. So if I were to cast an enchantment and then they get on tap, we're in trouble. But if that enchantment goes on the Alseid and we attack to gain life, it actually makes up for itself, right? The only way we get truly blown out is if my opponent just blocks the Alseid and trades with it. I don't know. This is hard. This is tough. This is tough here. I'm worried that if I attack with just the Sram and go to 6, they chump block with a Swift Spear, they untap and they kill me. So I really want to do something with the Alseid. Maybe I just put the All That... Which one do I put on first? The All That Glitters or the Sentinel's Eyes? And does it even matter, I guess? Well, you know what? How about this? How about... I'm still working through this board state. What if we just sacrifice the Alseid to give the Sram protection from red? Put the All That Glitters on the Sram and the Sentinel's Eyes. That puts us down to 4. Oh, we died of Boros Charm. That's unfortunate. I was so close, actually. That line of thinking there. But can I do it with just the All That Glitters? I think I can. So I think this just has to be the play here. Let's just go ahead and do things. Let's just do it first. Let's go ahead and target the Sram and see if my opponent in red-white has an answer to a 7/7. I think I am going to have to go to 4, though. The problem with doing this is we lose an enchantment. They have a Boros Charm, we're going to die. I think that's the way it is, though. Because this is not quite there. And this makes it an 11/11. 12/12, as a matter of fact, because the extra one from the Ethereal Armor. Well, do we risk losing to Boros Charm, or do we attack for not lethal? I don't think the game gets better for us. I think we're just supposed to go for it. If my opponent's holding Boros Charm, we probably weren't winning anyways, right? And they have it. Or, yep, they do. Well, I don't know. I don't know that we had any way around that one. That, or they're bluffing it and they don't have it? They had a way to... Oh, they didn't have it! You know what, opponent? Good bluff. Good bluff. I thought you had it. They obviously... They did a lot of thinking on their turn, and then I took the turn back, and I did all kinds of thinking. And they just had to wait on me, but we realized that we just had to go for it. And we got there. Now, what to do? Hushbringer, flying lifelink is nothing to scoff at. Lifelink's a real thing, but I think we want these Baffling Ends. What don't we need here? I have to say Adanto Vanguard, probably not great. The Gryff Spoon giving flying is actually pretty nice. I could do with drawing a Gladecover Scout. That would make things a little easier, wouldn't it? I cut a Gryff Spoon. I won't ever be bringing that thing back. I guess it's a Karametra's Blessing after that, probably. Now, the real question is, I mean, do we want the Hushbringers? Is the Hushbringer better than a random enchantment in our deck, right? Do we want to cut, say, a second Karametra's Blessing or a, Gryff Spoon? second Gryff Spoon and play a Hushbringer. Now, creatures entering battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. I don't think that affects us. So, it basically functions as a 1/2 flying lifelink with an ability that against a red deck probably doesn't matter much. Proxa? No, this is red deck wins. Okay. It is nice to throw stuff on, though, right? We'll YOLO one. Why not? All right, that was an extremely tense game one. Let's see how the rest of the match goes. That was a great one to start things off with. And this is a hand you can get with this deck. And I think I'm going to keep it. It draws a second land. It's very good. We're on the draw. We got 2 shots at it. Even if we don't get the land, I mean, heck, I have 3 cards I can play. What are you supposed to do? you play 19 land decks. You sometimes you got to ride the lightning, right? Our opponent, by the way, looks like they might be mulligan over there, so things are setting up in our favor, provided the top of our deck cooperates in the first 2 turns. Now, okay, they threw me off. I went to this second main phase land here. Oh, I understand. Sure, I guess. Misclick, perhaps? All right. You know what? That's a land, folks. Maybe not the best one. Certainly, it's going to cost us life. But in this case, any land is a land. Now, depending on how fast our opponent goes, we can play the Season of Growth. We can play the Sram. Honestly, if they attack with this Bowmat Courier, I'm going to block. I would be happy to have 21 life when I untap for my second turn now. I'm also fine with them burning a Lightning Strike on it. Now, the problem is the Bowmat Courier will start to grow. It will certainly do that. In cards underneath it, of course. So I want to play the Sram, but I can't. Can't do that. I say that. Maybe I can. I really want to have a land when I play my Sram. I'm going to play the Season of Growth. We know our opponent's deck has plenty of cards that can kill our creatures. And in a different game, a different scenario, maybe I just run it out and say, point your removal spell at this instead of my face. But in this game with the Bowmat Courier, all my opponent wants to do is point removal at our creatures. So we're going to have to cross our fingers, I think. We can take this hit here. Cross our fingers that we hit a land here. So we can play Sram and keep up Karametra's Blessing. Not quite. Not quite, folks. That might be the game. We kept a risky one. We certainly did. There's the land. I don't think I could have waited another turn. We had to put this. We wouldn't have known it was there. So I keep it now. This game's all about our opponent just not having a shock. It seems unlikely. I guess we want him to have a handful of Boros Charms. But do you really want him to have a handful of Boros Charms? Yuck. They also missed a land drop. Their hand's just all gas. There's a Lightning Strike. That'll probably do it. Now I can be able to beat this Bowmat Courier. Yeah. And only enchant creatures I control. This game's just over. Alright, GG, onto the game 3, huh? You know what's good against Bowmat Courier? Hushbringer's not bad as a blocker. Blocks. I do think it's correct to cut the Gryff Spoon. It's actually just probably the worst of my enchantment buff things. Yeah, it gives evasion, but maybe, and that's important, right? But maybe vigilance is more important. Also, I'm putting in the Hushbringers, which have evasion naturally, so, you know, if we can get the same effect, the same evasion, but on a creature, well, then any enchantment will do. So that's the idea here. And you know what? Hushbringer does block we just want to throw all the creatures we can at our opponent. Now, it probably, you know, basically everything but the Adanto Vanguard, I think, right? We do not want to get Bowmat Courier out of the game, because the Bowmat Courier on the play, as you saw, runs away with the game. It didn't matter what I had in hand. It didn't matter that we had even the life. My opponent was gonna spend the next couple cards in their hand and then draw 5 or 6 more, and the game's just over. You're not going to beat a red deck when you're struggling on lands and they're drawing extra burn like that. So that is what it is. But now we get to go back on the play. We do have access to these Baffling Ends in our sideboard, which would be very nice here. We've got good creatures. Let's hope we just curve out. I had a risky keep, but honestly, I could have beat a Swift Spear on turn 1 with what I had. I could have just waited another turn. I think it was the Bowmat that we couldn't beat. All right, I would like to play first. I'd like to make this Lurrus my companion, and I would like to mulligan this hand. Here goes. This is a keep. I guess I put the Season of Growth on the... I put the Sram on the bottom. The Season of Growth allows us to... I can't believe I don't have anything here. The Season of Growth allows us to scry, at least, if we hit that second land. Now, the thing is, you have to keep the hand because we mulligan, but it has a Scout. It's the first sighting of Gladecover Scout we've had. And there's the Bowmat. So you know what? I get to play the Scout. My opponent's not going to be able to interact with it. I'm going to put a Sentinel's Eyes on it, either this turn when I untap or the next turn, and we will have this Bowmat Courier answered with two cards underneath it, I think. Maybe 3. Which is still not great, but not the end of the world for us here. So, all right, Gladecover Scout it is. We don't need to hit the land. I mean, we didn't have to hit the land that turn. It would have been nice, but we are going to need to hit the land probably the turn after next. We might be able to get away not hitting it this turn. Simply because this Gladecover Scout, once it starts getting enchanted, is going to do some work. Now we hit land this turn, feeling like we're in an incredible spot. I just put the Sentinel's Eyes, the Cartouche on the Gladecover Scout, and we just have the my opponent's never going to deal damage to us with a creature. We're at 18 after the Bowmat hits. That doesn't happen. I'm not sure, but how about this? My opponent putting the Sacred Foundry into play tapped, despite having 6 other cards in their hand. What does that say about what's in their hand? Oh, that's not great. Let's put Sentinel's Eyes on this thing. I don't think my opponent has any way to buff their Bowmat Courier, so this should stop the bleeding. Maybe we pull this game out. I don't know. I mean, look how good our hand is if we hit a land here and just get to play more than one spell. Now, how's our opponent going to come up with 18 points of burn here? It's their main phase, and they're pointing lightning strikes at our face. It might work. Might not. Those 4 lightning bolts in their hand, I guess we're at 12. We die. Suppose I should play an Alseid of Life's Bounty. Try to gain some life here. Yeah, this is certainly a challenge. They don't make it easy, do they? This deck might want 20 lands. I took the 5-0 or the 4-1 list, I think it was. I took the list exactly. 19 lands might be a touch greedy. I believe we're on 19 lands anyways. Can recheck that. Yeah, we're on a 19 lane deck here. We're trying to get lucky. All right, well, let's play Alseid of Life's Bounty. I mean, this actually does kind of do exactly what we need it to do. Even if it just swings and dies, trades, whatever, it puts us on 13, which is crucially not 12. Now, our opponent just gonna... Ooh. That's a pretty good one. Searing Blood is not a card I was prepared for. Not much we can do about it. It is going to put us down to 9, though. I got another Alseid. But if we don't draw lands, we are going to lose the game. My opponent's just going to bolt us and eventually get 3 more cards off that Bowmat Courier and bolt us some more. That's a land. I can't play it untapped. I do not think it's worth it. Thinking. I don't really want to... I kind of want to... I guess I won't ever be able to protect this Alseid, so I might as well play it. That, or we just put the Cartouche on the Scout and start attacking. I think I have to play the Alseid. If Searing Blood's the only one that gets us, right? If my opponent spins a Lightning Strike on an Alseid, I'm thrilled. That means it didn't come in our face. Now, the Searing Blood was a true blowout. If they have some more, it's gonna hurt. I don't know if we can beat another Searing Blood. Our clock is just so anemic because of these missed land drops, though. It was very, very rough. And it's a Lightning Strike, and it's pointed at our face. Our opponent might just have it. Might just have 2 more Lightning Bolts over there. We'll have taken 18 damage to the face and 2 from a Bowmat. That would be an acceptable way to lose, I suppose. That said, if we untap, I get to try. I get to try to swing with this Alseid. Alright, a Swift Spear. Fine. I'll throw my Alseid in front of the... Well, what would I do? If my opponent were to swing with both of these, what would I do? Well, there you go. It's a Lightning Strike to our face. I guess we're at 3. Bring on the beats, friend. Yep, they got 1 card in hand. Now they got 3 underneath this Bowmat Courier. What do I do? My opponent did not make a land drop this turn, I believe. Actually had a Torbrand in hand. Wow, okay. This is so bad for me they chose not to cast that. Okay, well, I guess it's just this coming in, but I do have a decision to make. What if I double blocked it? Make my opponent choose which one to kill. I either keep my Gladecover Scout and gain life, which is what I get from the chump block anyways, or I keep an Alseid. I could put a Cartouche on it. I guess try to gain some life. I'm gonna double block. Because the alternative is chump blocking, right? So I guess it is. I mean, we have another Gladecover Scout and the Sentinel's Eyes has Escape. Like, I mean, this is, I guess, as fine as it's going to get when your opponent's drawn 3 cards in their burn deck and you're at 3 life. And look, they're actually going to kill the Alseid first. It does put us to 4. That means our opponent just has 2 burn spells, I assume. And here come our lands. A little too late. Well, we're going to do our thing over here. We're going to pay the price, I think, for missing that land drop, which is truly too bad. But, I mean, we had no choice in this one. You could quibble with the game 2 keep a little more, but this was just bad luck. I say all of that. My opponent has to actually show me the Lightning Bolts or the Boros Charm or any of the billion cards that kill us. So, that said, I suppose I could draw some creatures that don't do anything. But instead, it's just the Boros Charm. GG's. They got it. Well, fair match. All right, that was a great match. Let's see if we can follow it up here. Probably not with this hand. We will be shipping this one back to Cinder. Looks like we're going to be on the, looks like we're on the draw here. So, we can unmulligan pretty quickly, but let's see if we get a 6 that's keepable. We did. All right. That's a little better. That's what I like to see. As a matter of fact, I'm content to throw back a land there. We really only do need 2. In this particular game, you can make an argument for 3 so that we can protect the Sram immediately. But we're on the draw. We got 3 draw steps till then. Let's see if we hit a land. Temple of Inscribement from our opponent. The question is, I guess, do I lead with the Sram or the Season of Growth? It probably depends on whether or not we hit a land. But what I really would like is, you know, a Boggle. Give me a Gladecover Scout here, please. Not quite. Not quite. Well, let's see what they're up to. Glacial Fortress might just be actual blue-white control over there. Not really sure what that matchup's like for us, but I suppose we're going to find out. Reveal his planes. And I guess run out the Sram. Why not? Our opponent's going to remove it at some point eventually anyways. We may as well try to get in some damage. The Seasons of Growths can hopefully set us up moving forward here. Now, if our opponent lets us untap like this, that's a nice sign. That's great. I'm going to go with the Season of Growth here. This seems like it's probably my best turn to get it down while I have the Karametra's Blessing open. We'll see if our opponent actually... It was that or go for the Sentinel's Eyes, obviously, right? But the Sentinel's Eyes... And what is this? Let's see what it is. Oh, our opponent's going to syncopate this. Sure thing. I guess let's get in there. Now, I need to actually enchant this thing so that my Karametra's Blessing does what I want it to, I suppose. That's something I didn't necessarily think about here, so fair enough. There's another Karametra's Blessing. All right. With that in mind, I guess let's go for the Sentinel's Eyes here. Plus, now I'd like to hit a land, so we'll see what we can find. Gryff Spoon. Okay. Not hugely relevant, but whatever. Guess we go ahead and play it. We've got the Karametra's Blessing up. Try to get in there. 4 is more than 3. And look at that, there's a land. So that is also not a bad draw. Well, do I go for the third Sentinel's Eyes so that I can swing for 5 instead of 4? Does speed the clock up by a turn, I guess. Why not, right? I mean, we get a draw card, so we get a cycle here. And what's our opponent going to do that they weren't already going to do? Well, they're going to take the hit when it was 4, but not when it's 5. Heck, let's draw a card, and if they answer Supreme Verdict, we'll just blow them out all the same. We didn't play Boggles not to put Boggle cards on our creatures, right? Get in there for 5, pass the turn. Now, next turn, we have Season of Growth plus double Karametra's Blessing, should we want it. Sram doing its thing, though. And keep in mind, this is also pretty neat. All 3 of the enchantments on our Sram come back into play from our graveyard if we want them to. Now, obviously, there's a cost to those. Pretty easy with Sentinel's Eyes. You just exile 2 cards to escape it. But the Boon just costs 4 mana. You can only do it as a sorcery. And you have to have 4 mana, which this deck doesn't always do. But it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat when your enchantments, they're not as powerful as the ones you get in Modern, but very recursive. I say that. You play both of these in Modern probably anyways these days. Our opponent doing actual nothing, by the way. I'll play a Season of Growth. They played a Temple of Inscribement, and they put the card on the bottom. And now they're going to respond to the Season of Growth with a Render Silent. I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to Karametra's Blessing this thing. Render Silent. Neat counterspell. Counter target spell, its controller can't cast spells this turn. So I don't want that to be the precursor for, I don't know, some sort of Vapor Snag, Unsummon. Who knows what beats us there. But heck, let's get in for 7. That is, in fact, lethal next turn. I can't cast any more spells this turn. But I have a 5/4. I have a Gryff Spoon in hand, a Karametra's Blessing in hand. I can cast spells now, friend. So what do you got? We're tapping out. We're tapping big. An Hour of Revelation. Destroy all non-land permanents, you say. Well, we will not be destroying the Sram. I will make that thing indestructible. Our Revelation will hit all of our enchantments. However, it didn't matter. We drew Ethereal Armor. It's unbeatable. We're going to take this game. I gotta say, this is something to keep in mind. A game 1 Hour of Revelation, probably pretty nice in this format, honestly. Like, it seems strong. All right, well, let's go ahead and exile a couple cards here. Put the Sentinel's Eyes onto the Sram, and with our flying first strike, everything else, whatever, blah, 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 7-6, we'll win the game and move on to game number 2, where I want these Adanto Vanguards. Positively want these Adanto Vanguards. And kind of Gryff's Boon. Don't really need the, honestly, I don't know, don't need the evasion all that much. Kind of Sentinel's Eyes as well. I do want all the card advantage type cards. Now, if my opponent's basically just playing blue-white tribal, blue-white since the dawn of time, blue-white tribal over there, and it's just going to be Teferis, I'm not really sure that any of these cards do a ton. The Apostle Purifying Light, Protection from Black, that doesn't do much. I think the best card in our sideboard is our Lurrus, as the companions usually are. Even when you have to pay 3. And this is we're playing against a deck where it's super conceivable to be at 4 or 5 mana and put Lurrus into our hand and then next turn play it and put something out. Now, where Lurrus kind of struggles, and the reason, honestly, that the nerf to companions when they made it cost 3 just to put into your hand was so important, it didn't matter as much as something like Yorion. You still see people occasionally play their Yorion decks in Standard, but it decimated these aggro-type commanders like companions like Lurrus, because against this blue-white deck, say we're out of cards by turn 4 or 5. We want to play Lurrus and something else. Well, now we have to pay 3 to put Lurrus into our hand, and 3 more to play it. And it doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal. It's only 3 mana, right? Obviously, you have the mana to play it and do that if you're activating the ability. But it's the tempo you lose from that. If we spend our 4th or 5th turn just to put Lurrus into our hand, we're going to pass the turn back to our opponent. They're going to use that to play it to Fairy, and then we'll never catch up even with Lurrus. So it is a powerful card, but I have to say that the nerf to companions, I think, was good at balancing the need to obviously make them less strong because they just took over Magic. Also, it wasn't just, changing the numbers or anything like that. And I like that they made it where it now interacts with hand disruption, Thoughtseize, that sort of thing. That comes up a fair amount in Historic. I've been playing a lot of that on Arena. So it's all just to say I'm pretty happy with how companions have turned out. I always liked the design of them, and now I can like the development of them too, because they're much more fair. All right, well, here we go. We're going to lean on this Alseid of Life's Bounties. My deck's just never going to give me a Gladecover Scout to make things easy. But I wish couldn't lose. We have Gladecover Scout here, right? I just load this thing up for 3 turns. On the 4th turn, when my opponent has a Supreme Verdict to hold up Karametra's Blessing, you can't lose. A little more difficult with the Alseid. That said, I was going to say, that said, we still need green mana, but you know what? There it is. Play Season of Growth. That is a problematic enchantment, I think, for our opponent to handle. It's not incredible, but late game, when we play out creatures, we get a scry, and 1 or 2 scries can make all the difference, as you saw match 1, right? But also, it's another Sram, and that in itself is problematic if our opponent's trying to go a different route. So, for instance, here it is, our turn 3. I have Karametra's Blessing open. I have a Season of Growth. I just can do whatever I want. And what I want to do is put a Gryff Spoon on this Alseid, start drawing cards, and sitting it flying over top of this wall. Yep, and we hit another land there. Now this land will come into play tapped whenever we do put it into play. In the meantime, though, well, it's the Cartouche or the Sentinel's Eyes. I guess it's probably the Sentinel's Eyes. This is the most likely as our first creature. Probably the most likely to hit the bin one way or another. But hey, let's get in there. That's lifelink too. Yep, here we go. They want to Azorius Charm our creature. I guess I have to Karametra's Blessing it. We decided to put, we decided to put things on it for a reason. And there we go. We're going to get in for 5. We actually draw another Alseid, which I think is pretty nice. I think that's a nice one because next turn we get to play it. We don't have access to Karametra's Blessing, and that is maybe one of the best cards in our deck here against an opponent playing a blue-white, playing things like Deckenstone. Even Deckenstone, not that bad. We get a clue out of the deal. Both of those enchantments come back, and we certainly are going to have the time to do it. We have the mana as well. So, what to do now? What to do now? I think we just I'm going to play this Alseid of Life's Bounty. I'm just going to put all the glitters on it. The clue, pumping up. Alseid. I say this is what I'm going to do. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll put the cartouche on it. And here we go. Scry's coming in handy already. Bottoming that. I think I'll go with the cartouche. That way, actually, if I hit a... well, I didn't. I hit another land. But I was going to say... If I were to hit a one drop, right? Like a Gladecover Scout, which is now on top of our deck. That's huge. I can play this Fortified Village. I can reveal this Plains... And now I even have enough to crack the clue on their instep. Then we can reload onto a hexproof creature. So, looking okay here. Looking all right. I'm not going to use the Sentinel's Eyes out of my graveyard. That would remove some other stuff we wanted. Our opponent now main phase Azorius Charming, digging for a land. That is not where they want to be. I'll tell you that. Blue-white wants to do nothing but make land drops. So this is great for us. Now I actually need to decide. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm just going to bring back this Gryff Spoon. Put it on this thing. Oh, this actually, it didn't cast it, it attached it. You return it attached, so you don't cast it from your graveyard. So that's fine, though. But now the interesting position I'm in here is, do I want to play the Gladecover Scout? And the answer is no. I don't think I do. Also, maybe I should have put that Gryff Spoon on the Warrior. Kind of given up on the Alseid, and I could have used the Alseid to protect the Warrior. I don't know. Just thinking it through. But I want to play around my opponent having Supreme Verdict. So I want to hold the Gladecover Scout for as long as possible here. Yeah, I kind of naturally just trended towards, I want life gain, but you know what? That might not have been correct. That said, just going to put all the glitters on this thing now. Still get the trigger. We got plenty of lands coming from this, by the way, but yes, that's okay. I moved to combat. Swing for 9. Now you can see I'm sandbagging stuff here, but it's because my opponent isn't making land drops. Yeah, we're playing around the Wrath, all of that, but sometimes you can't play around the Wrath, or sometimes you have to extend into it a little bit, or maybe I would play the Sram there before all the glitters to draw an extra card. This is what our opponent's doing. This is fine. If they're not making land drops, I'll just keep playing around the Wrath to the fullest extent. And here, our opponent wants to put the Alseid on top of our deck. That's perfectly fine with me. We're out nothing. That's what's so cool. The Gryff Spoon we just returned to play. The Cartouche created this Warrior, which we get to keep attacking with in the coming turns. And the Azorius Charm just trades with that, right? This all seems perfectly fine for us. Now I do have to make a little bit of a decision. I think now I go with the Gladecover Scout. Because, here's the thing. If my opponent had a Wrath, they probably would have taken the damage or chump blocked one of it, etc. And then just untapped and hoped to wipe away the board. They didn't do that. They used point removal, that they could have cycled, by the way, with that Azorius Charm. They used that to go after my creature instead. It tells me they don't have a Wrath that they're playing towards. It tells me that they're trying to use this point removal, and that says, go in on Gladecover Scout. That's what that means. All right, my opponent says, love the reporting and coverage, keep it up. Well, you know what? By the time this video comes out on Thursday, I will be covering the Mythic Invitational this weekend. So check that out at twitch.tv/magic. All right, so here we go. What a great draw, this Alseid. We're going to play the Alseid first. Then we're going for the Gryff Spoon on this Warrior. Yep, I get to scry some more. Put that Temple Garden on the bottom. And here we go. Gryff Spoon attached to the Warrior. Try to swing for 6 in the air. And I could also go in on the Sentinel's Eyes. And you know what? The Sentinels, here's the thing. Can I win? What happens if I play all the glitters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd give it +5. Wait, there's another all the glitters on it? I give it +7? 6? Did I math poorly here? Have I played a land? Alright, so right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 enchantments in play. If I play this all that glitters, it'll give it +5, +5. But it'll really give it +6, +6, because this all that glitters will still be on it. I believe I would have 12 damage in the air, which is not enough. Because I can't play all that glitters and the Sentinel's Eyes. Should have played the Sentinel's Eyes and not the Alseid. I did not even do a lethal check. Spent so much time talking this one through, I forgot to do the very basic thing you should always do, but just check to see if you have lethal damage. I didn't think there was any way I did, so I didn't check. And the truth is, I probably did. I could have played the Sentinel's Eyes out of the graveyard instead of that Alseid. Had the exact same power on this warrior now, but then been able to swing for one more after this all that glitters. So, all right, fair enough. That's can't go back on that. But now I have to decide what to do. And I think the answer probably just to attack. We're so far ahead. Let's just swing. Put our opponent down to 7. Let's keep the Alseid up as protection. We'll pass the turn back. We have... The thing is, if our opponent does get control of the board, we get to play Sram and all the glitters and draw multiple cards with a Season of Growth in play. There's only 19 lands in our deck. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 4. That's 8. Plus however many we scried to the bottom. A couple. And there you go. There's the Supreme Verdict. So, all right, fair enough. Opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They're about to go back up to 9 life. Let's see what comes of this. More land for us. Not really where I wanted to be. All right, but we get to play the Sram, and we get to scry when it comes into play. Gladecover Scout seems great. I guess I just play the all the glitters. Because my opponent can't do anything about it, we get to draw 2 cards. Let's just do it. Because we might hit another enchantment here that we can put on the Gladecover Scout. Right? I could play the Gladecover Scout. And there you go. I could also just hit an Alseid. That's pretty good also. And as a matter of fact, that's a really good one. Because now I get to play it. I get to scry again with the Season of Growth. I think we've put 3 lands on bottom. At least 2. There's not that many lands left in our deck. This is fully almost half of the lands in our deck that we've seen already. And with a couple more on bottom, just seems very good for us. Now, a Cartouche, I'll keep that one on top. That provides a redundant body. All right. Opponent, you Supreme Verdicted. You cleared the board. Have the turn back. You're going to need another one. This is looking like lethal here with the Sentinel's Eyes in the graveyard. Truthfully, probably should have cast the Sentinel's Eyes there because we have so much mana. Now, I'm sorry, so much mana, but also so many cards in our graveyard. I could have got an extra trigger because this is a cast. I could have got some more there. That said, here it is. Our opponent's at 9. I think they're just hoping they're not dead. So I'm going to play Sentinel's Eyes on this thing. Exile a couple of cards here. Get double triggers. All the glitters, a Gryff Spoon. That's all pretty good. And that's 8, huh? Yeah, we'll play another Gryff Spoon. Why not? Put it over here, draw a couple more. Here's the thing. If my opponent has Settled the Wreckage or something right here, right? Is that even good for them at this point? You know? Does that really even win them the game, or are they just too far behind? I'm drawing so many cards. Well, this is lethal. I guess we attack. I think the Karametra's Blessing's a nice draw, actually. Well, maybe. We'll see. Maybe it wouldn't be lethal regardless. Let's see what happens. Maybe I should have put some more... I'm trying to... Settle the Wreckage is what I was concerned about. The Azorius Charm, I think we just do this. We make our creature hexproof and see if our opponent can deal with it. We also get to draw a card off the Season of Growth. You are really seeing the card advantages do some work here. All right, well, there's an Absorb. Huh? Sure, our Karametra's Blessing has been countered. I guess I sack this to protect this from that. Maybe I should have gone for the Ethereal Armor. I would have actually... Would it have been lethal, though? Actually... I should have given it protection from blue. Misclicked. Probably won't matter, but definitely a misclick. It's trivial to load our creature back up next turn. It's a bit of a misclick, though. Won't lie. Alright, I'll play this thing. And I guess while I still can, I keep that on top. Let's draw some cards. What do you say? Trying to keep in mind the fact that we do have access to Lurrus here. That is something that matters with the permanent cards in our graveyards. Something we want to keep in mind. Do this? I may as well draw all these extra cards, right? His deck is it's something once he gets going, is it not? I mean, if you're a blue-white player, what are you gonna do about it, right? Like, what are you supposed to do? That's an indestructible creature. I'll keep that one up there. Okay, well, let's move to cleanup here. What don't I need? I guess I'll just pitch the land. All right, let's see if you have an answer for this one. I have certainly pioneered my way through this one, so I do apologize, but we're gonna give it another shot here. All right, Ethereal Armor on the Gladecover Scout. Hope we don't deck. All right, it's an 8/8. Another Ethereal Armor on the Gladecover Scout. It's an infinite now. Let's move to combat. My opponent finally says, GG's, what a match. I'll tell you that. Taking it down. Blue-white control, get out of here. Bogles and Pioneer, everybody. Let's see if we can pick up another win. All right, trying to finish things off here with our sweet Bogles deck here in Pioneer. Sorry, just reading chat there. Okay, so looks like this is a keep. I mean, this is as many lands as you could ever imagine to see, I think, in an opening hand in a 19-land deck. But this is probably one of the only 5-land hands. I think it might be reasonable to keep. Look, we have a Gladecover Scout. It's our best possible 1-drop. We have it on turn 1. We're on the play. And we have our best enchantment after that. I guess it's our second best enchantment. Ethereal Armor would be probably better, except for weird cases where we get Declarationed and Stoned. Anyways, but this, I think you have to keep the hand. And think about it. With all the glitters, it gets out of control so quickly. And it's plus for any enchantment you control, not just auras or anything like that. So anything we draw that is not a land, and there's only 14 lands in our deck out of 53 cards. We have a very good odds of drawing a card, and it'll be a card we can cast. So this seems like where we want to be. Now, I say all of that. Obviously, we immediately hit a land. But hey, I guess that's what Lurrus is for, right? And the thing is, Lurrus does make a hand like this a lot better. You know, we can cast both these cards out of our graveyard with Lurrus. Remember, you can, each turn, you can cast a permanent spell with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard, not a creature. And a flashback the, I was saying that there, flashback the Allen Iverson, it's, we talking about practice? That's how I said that there. I defaulted into that. Finally, though, we actually do get a nice draw here with the Cartouche of Solidarity. I guess we'll just go for it, because what are we doing if not just putting enchantments on a Boggle and swinging? It was that or put Lurrus into our hand that turn. You know, our opponent is representing counter magic or something like that, but look, we have 3 lands in our hand. There's nothing tricky about this game. We're going to put enchantments onto a Gladecover Scout and turn it sideways until we either win or we lose. Or in that case, man, I swear I did it. We're going to misclick through combat. Did what I always do. I right-clicked and I go attack all. All right. All right, Magic Online. Misclicks are part of the game, and I see that's something we're going to have to play through tonight. Okay, Sublime Epiphany. I love this card. I like the art on this card. I like the abilities on this card. Very, very, very cryptic command here. All right, well, let's see if we draw something that helps us take down the Royal Scions. Fortunately, we did. And I will, I think, go ahead and do that. Trust me, as much as I want to direct all of this at my opponent, I'm not going to let them mess around with this card. I don't even know if they can answer this Gladecover Scout. If they're playing Phoenix, surely they're playing Phoenix. They have to have a thing in the ice, or they have to have a bunch of Phoenixes come kill us. I don't think they can do that as efficiently if we just take down the Royal Scions here, knock them to 17, and start going at their life total after that. 3-turn clock, as it stands now. Once this gets to 6 power anyways. Yeah, 6 loyalty on the Scions. That's what we got to go after here. When we do get to swing the Warrior at them, then I'll put Lurrus into my hand and hope that we're done drawing lands. That missed attack is pretty painful, I won't lie. I mean, any misclick, right? Any misclick on Magic Online is always going to hurt you. That's why you don't want to do them, but they do happen. You have to learn to live with it. And that's why I'm not afraid to put it out on YouTube. It happens to everybody. All right. With that said, let's take stock of this. We've got a Lurrus in our hand. Nothing in our graveyard to bring back, as it stands now. But I don't know how our blue-red opponent, if they're just playing something straightforward with the Royal Scions, is ever going to beat a Gladecover Scout. It's why you play Gladecover Scout in Auras, because opponents in blue-red can't do much about it. And there we go, Sentinel's Eyes add on to the Gladecover Scout. And this is what I meant earlier about the All That Glitters. If you're going to keep a 5-land hand, you keep one that looks like this, because it makes every card after it much better. Sentinel's Eyes isn't giving +1/+1 in Vigilance, it's giving +2/+2 in Vigilance, thanks to the All That Glitters pomp, and that's pretty good. That's why we kept this hand, and it's working out like a dream so far. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to take my finger off of the button this time. I can't possibly misclick through this. Swing for 9. Okay, well, 8 actually. Okay, that's actually great. My opponent is at 8. This thing's an 8/7. Seems like we're in an okay spot right now then. That was huge, actually. That 1 point of damage may not seem like much, but we may not get 2 more attack steps if our opponent's actually doing something. I've yet, you know, I don't know what they're playing, but I guess we'll find out. It's a blue-red something, is it? We saw Sublime Epiphany and the Royal Scions. Well, if it's, try this. I don't really know what we're up against here, but... Now, the cool thing about, well, Grafdigger's Cage, I was going to say, is that it sometimes works with your own graveyards. For instance, this doesn't actually prevent a Living End from resolving in Modern. It does stop us from casting Sentinel's Eyes out of the graveyard. These are good if they're Phoenix, I guess. Play 2. I assume they're a Phoenix deck. But we didn't see much. We really didn't. And the Sublime Epiphany doesn't seem like an Is It Phoenix card, right? We're going to, I think, roll with this. I like the second Adanto Vanguard. I like having another resilient creature. I just don't know that I need the Hushbringers. I don't know that the Baffling Ends would be any good. The Apostles of Purifying Light might have been a little bit of a hedge. Maybe I didn't need the Grafdigger's Cages. Maybe I could have put the Apostles in instead. I'm not sure. But we'll see what happens here in Game 2. And I gotta say, these are the kind of hands you live for if you're playing this deck, I would guess. I'm not a Bogles expert myself. Can honestly say I have never picked up the deck in Modern in maybe to record a video or something, but never have I been like, I want to play Bogles. So, but that's because it's just good and annoying, right? It's one thing for the deck to be good. It's one thing for the deck to be annoying. When it's good and annoying, I don't want to do that. I love to play Lantern. And when Lantern got really good, it got kind of awkward, I won't lie. Alright, just Storm, huh? But, anyways, the point is, here in Pioneer, Bogles is not the terror. As a matter of fact, you've seen, it's not the terror that it was or is in Modern, because we don't have a bunch of Bogles. We have 4, and everything else we actually have to play kind of fair with. Now, I won't lie, I'm truly terrified of this Goblin Electromancer. Petrified, if you will. It's never. I've just been the memories, the flashbacks, the turn 3 kills in Modern from that thing. But you know what? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? But put this Cartouche on here. It makes it a 4/4, which is huge. We're out of Anger of the Gods range, and you know your blue-red opponent can only have so many answers to a hexproof creature, and Anger of the Gods is one of them. But the turn 1 Gladecover Scout, turn 2 Ethereal Armor, Cartouche of Solidarity, Anger of the Gods is no good. You can have my Warrior if you want, and you lose your Electromancer. Now, obviously, I say I make a big deal out of being out of Anger range. The Electromancer in play does not imply that they're going to follow up with an Anger of the Gods, but a lot of decks will bring an Anger of the Gods against you, and I do think it's worth pointing out how powerful that turn 2 can be. My opponent got chump blockers for days with these Electromancers, though. I'm still terrified of them. You know, no good thing can come from your opponent having 2 Electromancers in play. All right, well, let's see what we can do. Put the Cartouche on this thing and swing for, what is that, 6? 7? I'll get in there with the Warrior. I'll burn a Karametra's Blessing on the block. It's great, too, because now we can actually threaten a double block on one of the Electromancers. But like I said, I'm much more concerned about our opponent just killing us with the 2 Electromancers and the double discount. Pulling this off, though, might work. It's about the principle of the thing. Try to flex with your 1 mana up, substantiate. Get out of here! I got 1 mana spells too. I don't know what that actually means for the game. If my opponent wants to fight over this, I want to fight over this, and I screwed it up, didn't I? Sure did. Does not get hexproof. Oh, that is a silly mistake. Okay, fair enough. I've made that mistake several times, so that's something. That's the first one that cost us. Well, we're just down a Karametra's Blessing. I don't know that is likely to make a difference here. I burned it. You know, look, the card is. It's not. If your creature is enchanted or is an enchantment creature, gets hexproof and indestructible, the baseline is the +2/+2. I guess it's this deck's version of Vines of Vastwood. It's the opposite of Vines of Vastwood, as it turns out. The hexproof is the thing with Vines of Vastwood. So forgive me. Our Vines of Vastwood in this Bogles deck is the inverse of the other one in the other Bogles deck, or the Infect deck, I suppose. All right, well, we got plenty of lands here, and we still have our first strike 6/6. So let's get in there. And look, the bottom, at the end of the day, we got a free token out of the Cartouche, and then our opponent burned an Substantiate for 2 of our Karametra's Blessings. It's not the end of the world. And here we go with the first chump block. So this is good for us. Our opponent's chump blocking. I could put Lurrus into my hand. I'll represent something here, I guess. I'm not sure what we're supposed to be worried about. But we're going to find out as our opponent Izzet Charms to loot on the instep here. It's a good matchup for us. I feel good in game 3 even if we end up losing this one. Wow, double Dissipate to the graveyard for them. Yeah, you're too far behind on board for these counterspells to be any good. And if this does not attack, and it doesn't, they're planning on chump blocking with it again. That's not great for them. It seems like they are in full dig for answers mode. Well, let's see what the card is. Wow. That's a good sideboard card right there. Etherize. Okay. We'll see what happens. We don't have any enchantments that we can put on anything here. This is great, too, because it says return all attacking creatures. So nothing we can do about this, actually. Karametra's Blessing wouldn't even come into play there. Now, our opponent going to use the Royal Silence to pump up the Electromancer to give a first strike and trample? Really? Okay. Interesting. They only have one card in hand. If they decide that's how they're supposed to win the game, I guess that's what they're going to do. Okay. Well, we'll put Lurrus into our hand. Probably would have been better. Meh. I don't know. Well, let's just send these at our opponent, I think. I don't even know if there's a reason to play the Gladecover Scout here. We take one to play it, and this would have first strike and trample if my opponent goes for the same thing, so it would actually work out the same as far as the damage we take. I will be throwing this warrior in front of it, though, so we don't go down to 3. Let's see what happens. I cannot say that I've played this game well, y'all. I'm sorry. I got really far ahead of myself and started thinking about the commentary rather than the gameplay, and that's always a recipe for disaster. However, it might be okay. We play Lurrus. We play Ethereal Armor. We play Cartouche of Solidarity, and I think we attack for lethal. But if my opponent has Lightning Strike, we die. Huh. Let's do it this way. Let's start with the Cartouche. We get a draw a card here. And we might hit a land like that. That's okay. That's good. That helps. So now I can play the Lurrus. Well, be swinging for 4? That's not lethal. And this is kind of rough. I'm just trying to play around Lightning Strike. I don't really know if I mean, I can, I guess. Oof. Do I play around Lightning Strike? I don't want to die to it. And my opponent's gone for the aggro plan, which really tells me that they probably have it. So what if I just attack for 2? This is so hard. But attack for 2. I'm going to have to put 4 toughness in front of the thing. And it's going to have first strike. So that's actually going to be very annoying. Huh. That said, by attacking first, maybe our opponent has another Etherize or something to make this game very easy for us. Wow. Oh my gosh. Torrential Gearhulk? Wow. Great play. Is it Charm to deal 2 damage to my Sram and then block my Gladecover Scout. Pretty good. And it's actually the damage on this thing that's going to kill us. It's the Royal Scion's damage. Nice game. All right, well, I think they were always going to get that block in, so maybe we'll see. All right, I don't know. Maybe I just completely played that game terrible. Pretend it didn't happen. New slate here on game 3. Give this a shot. I do not think that there are... I mean, we saw no Phoenixes, right? Maybe I would have put in a Hushbringer just to maybe hose the Gear Hulk, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how this one goes. Hopefully I don't punt it like I did the last one, but it is called Punting Pioneer for a reason. My deck's going to hook me up, though. This is a hand. This is an interesting hand, as a matter of fact. It beats down very well, but it actually has no Bogles. We forgot to draw enchantments in our Bogles deck. But these Vanguards being indestructible, 2 of them with this, we're going to swing for a lot of damage if our opponent stumbles at all. And, oh, by the way, they're mulliganing down to 6, but any stumble out of our opponent is going to be absolutely run over by Adanto Vanguard. You remember this card from Standard. It's a 1/1 for 2. Terrible, right? No, it gets +2/+0 as long as it's attacking. Our opponent went down to 5. Oof. And you pay 4 life, make it indestructible. This card is unreal. We have it in a great draw here against a deck I think it's going to be very powerful against. So hopefully we don't get beat down this time. We died to the Torrential Gearhulk Royal Scions plan last game, which is a nice plan. I suppose it is a Phoenix deck, and that's how they sideboard when we bring in Grafdigger's Cage, right? Not that, I mean, I suppose Torrential Gearhulk maybe still kind of a nombo on that plane, but hey, it is a different route to go. Better than having, 3/2 haste flyers for 4. Well, let's just play the Adanto Vanguards, and let's just attack. Let's just not misclick this game, and make our opponent fight through it. See what they're thinking about here. I mean, cycle something, I guess, plain opt. I mean, this Adanto Vanguard is gonna be tough. It really is. And if I hit another land, next turn I just get to go Vanguard plus, Alseid. And the thing is, with no enchantments in our hand, this Gladecover Scout it's not even glorified. It's just a 1/1, right? This isn't doing much at all here. It's the old Merfolk of the Trident? Whatever the actual 1/1 for 1 is from Alpha. That's what the Gladecover Scout might be for a while, but the Adanto Vanguard is going to be an indestructible 3/1. I will play Vanguards until I can no longer play Vanguards, at which point I will begin playing Season of Growth. But let's see if my opponent has a counterspell for this one. They had no Electromancer on turn 2 this time. No counterspell, and we're swinging for 7 next turn. Possibly 9. We really want the Karametra's Blessing. All right, let's see what the play is. 3 mana for the Royal Scions. All you can really do this time, though, friend, is loot with it, and I will send these Vanguards out and take it down. There will be no +2/0 first strike trampling me to death this game. Friend. Cool mountain, though. Land? Not quite. Yeah. Seems like we just keep the pressure on. Should make a big board. Force our opponent to have a board wipe. And if my opponent has a board wipe, then we're not out that much, are we? And because we still have the Vanguards beating down. And if they do have the board wipe, whatever, right? We still have things to follow up with. That said, I actually think that I will go ahead and not play the Alseid and keep up the Karametra's Blessing here. Because there's no reason to even open ourselves up to anything, right? We can just say they have Anger of the Gods. The Vanguards are going to survive it, and we can use the Karametra's Blessing to make the Gladecover Scout a 4/4, and it survives it as well. And what's our opponent going to do? They just wasted their whole turn to kill a 1/1. After they spent their third turn... I mean, it's certainly not bad, I guess. They spent 3 mana to loot and gain 6 life. That's not irrelevant. It's one of the better uses of 3 mana in this matchup, I think, but it's just not helping them win the game at all. And here we go. I mean, no third land for us, but I think I've got everything I need. A little Forgotten Vampire. Great in Standard, forgotten about since. Maybe bring it back here in Pioneer. Alright, our opponent does have a play. It is the Aetherize. I am pretty tired of that card, won't lie. But again, delay tactics from our opponent. Now, with us missing land drops, delay tactics might be good enough. Here's the Electromancer. Which helped to run him out of cards. Hey, just come on, deck, give us a land. Not a land. Alright, let's swing. I'm really guessing they have a counterspell, and I'm going to play Season of Growth. This is a bit of a read. Yeah, well, it's a negate, I guess. Negate wouldn't have hit the Vanguard, but, you know, the Aetherize there, it makes sense to hold it for as long as possible. So using it there kind of, to me, signal that they might have a counterspell for the second one. And they were trying to just get it off the board, but instead, it wasn't that at all, but the negate does hit the Season of Growth. I mean, the thing is, this doesn't much matter, and if my opponent's not doing anything unfair, and thus far they're not, we're doing nothing at all, but we're winning the race. We obviously have more cards than them. I played the Season of Growth thinking that even if they had removal for stuff, we'd get lands. But I actually thought it was going to need a counterspell, but I didn't think it was going to need a negate per se. But with that said, force them to have it, or just play another Season of Growth. Yeah, my opponent hasn't changed the status quo. I won't either. Thing is, they know we have this other Adanto Vanguard in hand, and they know that they have a very difficult time beating that card. So by playing the Season of Growth, which, when we're missing land drops, are important. Now this is, what in the heck? I'm just going to lose to some crazy stuff here, aren't I? Counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability. Return target not only a permanent to owner's hand, create a copy, draw a card. My opponent gets to do a billion different things. We're just going to actually lose this game to not drawing lands. What a tilt. What an absolute tilter. Alright, well, our opponent has 3 cards in hand. 2 Goblin Electromancers. We're at 16. My Vanguards get worse if I'm in a low life total. Land! Alright, that's a land. Also just kind of wild, right? That I'm drawing... I guess I play this. I can take one more hit. And they do have it. Alright. Fair enough. Maybe anyways. These unsubstantiates are not very good, but they are all-stars against us right now when we can't make land drops. All of that said, our opponent's at 2 cards in hand. Just give me a whiff or two, game. Give me a whiff or two. We got a shot here. Our opponent knocks us down to 7. We have 3 lands when we untap. I've got a hexproof creature. Oh, I just haven't drawn any enchantments either. And we hit... Oh my gosh, this game is insane. They never make it easy, do they? Well, I can't kill them. We've drawn... We've drawn nothing but spells, and yet none of those spells are enchantments. Ridiculous. What to do? Well, I think the play is fairly straightforward. I'm going to attack. Because why wouldn't I? I don't think we're going to win, though. I think we're pretty far behind at this point. Our opponent's just tempoing us to death. I guess I have to play an Adanto Vanguard. This is terrible for us, but it is what it is. Is it charm to draw discard? Okay. Well, they're digging. They don't have it yet. Imagine just drawing Royal Scions right now and killing us. So Royal Scions would be extraordinarily good right now. I understand I punted game 2 a little bit. This is pretty unlucky here in game 3. I'm not salty about it, though. Misclicks happen. Mistakes happen. It's called Punting Pioneer. The point is to show you what the decks can do. And that is what we are doing. And this is... we are showing you that you desperately need a 20th land in this deck. Alright, well, our opponent discarded, looks like another Izzet Charm and a Sulfur Falls. They only have one card in their hand. That's not that many. The Vanguard is going to get dissipated. Okay. In that case, I'll see it. Our opponent's out of cards. This game is very winnable right now. As frustrating as it has been, it is still winnable. We're both at 6. The swing's coming in to put us to 2. But then we might be able to win. Might be able to win. We hit an enchantment that we can put on our Gladecover Scout. And if not, even if we can't win, we don't necessarily lose. We might lose. And our opponent might have just hit Burn Spell here. But if they didn't, and we're in the game. And as a matter of fact, if we're not dead right now, we're probably ahead. However, my opponent hit the perfect card to kill us and we died. You know what, everybody? That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Misclicks, they'll get you. Well, let's look at the deck. We lost games to not having 20 to 21 lanes. Every single game we lost, I think, was to Mana Screw. And that makes sense, right? You obviously could lose games to Mana Flood if you go too heavy, but you've got to have more than 19. You just do. So, first thing I would do, I'd probably cut a Gryff Spoon and add a 20th land. Probably just another Plains or something. This mana base has to have 20. Probably 21. I don't know what the cut is there, though. You know, I feel like the Sram, all the glitters, the Alseid, the Ethereal Armors, the Sentinel's Eyes, the Scouts. I feel like a lot of that stuff's really untouchable. And maybe you could go down to 3 Season of Growth. I think that might be a reasonable line to get a 21st land, but you desperately need a 20th land. Other than that, though, this deck looks pretty good. Now, the sideboard's customizable, but you do with it what you will. But I like the Adanto Vanguards. I liked them a lot. So I might look at... one of the lists I looked at actually had Ornithopters in the sideboard. So that's something to consider as well. I guess if you really want to go fast, you could play some Ornithopters. I'm not sure about that one, just saying, just stating what I've seen. Yeah, I gotta say this deck felt pretty decent. You know what's interesting is that we have access to a lot of green cards that we aren't playing. So you might look and see if, as you're keeping your eye on new cards, that sort of thing, if anything catches your eye. So everybody, I'm sorry I didn't play that last match perfectly, but you know what? It was still a lot of fun. It's a fun deck, I think. And this is a deck that, if you're looking for this style in Pioneer, it gives you a little bit of that modern feeling, but it's much less frustrating for your opponent. So all in all, happy with the deck. Everybody, thank you so much for watching Punting Pioneer. I'm Corbin Hosler. I'll see you next week.